What made the song really so powerful as well was one of the typical things that Free used to do was Andy Fraser, the bass player. If you listen to the song, he doesn't come in until the chorus, the first chorus. There is no bass guitar on the song until the first chorus. And when it gets to All Right Now, the anthemic bit, the bass comes in, do-do-do-do-do, you know, and plays this funky riff. So the song is just getting bigger and funkier and better all the time.
The chorus part, which people always play wrong, Kos literally plays 2 strings, which is the chorus.
Musically it was good because it was simple. Again, that classic Free trade, less is more.
Obviously the usual Free trademarks, some great drums from Simon Kirke pushing the band on. We've got a bass solo from Andy Fraser in the middle which builds up the tension to the climax. Paul Rodgers' vocals, obviously there's an audience participation element to it. And then Paul Kossoff doing the things he does best.
Lovely solo, beautifully constructed solo. In fact, I think the solo is probably the main part of the song. But it was one of the few guitar solos probably that's really valid in a pop song. Very well constructed. It's not just blowing blues licks, it's a tune.
The solo is just unbelievable. It builds and it builds, and you're sitting on the edge of your seat until he reaches that final high E note, the bent E note, and then it falls back into the last chorus. It's absolutely magic.
What adds to the song is that it's quite a joyful, uplifting and happy song. You know, it's carefree, sort of late 60s hippie idealism, right? You know, everything's cool, we're all right.
All right, it's all right, it's all right. Baby, 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 it's all right now.
I've played All Right Now a million times in pubs and clubs and things, and you always think, this is rubbish. Because it's such a kind of simple song, and it's been, again, not kind of like Smoke on the Water. It's been so abused by so many bar bands and got wrong in so many horrible ways. And then you hear the real deal, the real guy singing it, and it's like, yeah, I get it now. While I was working with Rodgers, he got some sort of award for it having been played over 1 million times on radio, which is quite some achievement. And that was 7 years ago, so it's probably 2 million by now.
All Right Now, the most played song on American radio. Some people would say that it's lost its edge. I would say, bullshit. It hasn't. It's still a great classic blues rock song and will be for all time.
The classic Free sound for the majority is probably All Right Now, but that's simply because it's the most well-known Free song by miles. But Mr. Big probably defines what the band are about and the sound better than anything.
As soon as you hear Simon's plodding drums at the start, typical Simon Kirke drum part, and then the bass comes in, it's just fantastic.
Works well again because it's relatively simple in its roots. It's, you know, basic drum patterns, lots of space. You know, with Kossoff just playing this kind of crunching chord, at the end of each bar.
There's very little happening during the verses. Nice big riff. Paul Rodgers, great vocal prowess, good solid drumming. And then when they hit the chorus, the whole band is in. Once again, they lift the whole song right up, make it very powerful.
Oh, Mr. Big, you better watch out. And don't you hang around. Oh.
I think Mr. Big for me says a lot about Rodgers' background, because Paul Rodgers was a working class hero and a very talented guy, and it sort of works on two levels, because it's a kind of love song, Mr. Big, and it's also a song about the man, about the establishment.
And interestingly enough, is one of their songs about what was happening to them. You know, they were, I think they were feeling that money-wise that things weren't quite the way they wanted it at that point. So they were making social comment as well.
And what Rodgers is saying is, you know, that he'll dig the hole for the man, but you know, that's it. And when he clocks off at 5 o'clock, he's going home to his woman and he's going to have a good time.
Mr. Big, you better watch out. Yeah. And don't you hang around. Up and you, I will dig a great big hole in the ground. Ah, yeah.
Andy Fraser's bass was able to give an extended contribution, which really helped make the song. And Paul Rodgers, who wrote the song, certainly agreed, because he decided to give Andy a part share in the writing credit.
You can see where he's trying to direct the band into more of a soul rock type of playing, whereas Kossoff, you know, in his solo in the song, he starts at the lower register end of the scale, building it up all the time, leaving space again, causing tension, and ending up with these, you know, really high screeching kind of classic blues notes.
I think what makes it work for me is, from a production point of view, it's a very organic sound. In fact, it sounds underproduced. It's a very natural sound. The drum sound is, it's just like they put a couple of mics up on the kit and just wound them up and let them go.
And don't you hang around. I will dig a great big hole in the ground.
The Free songs took on a new life when they were played live, because remember, Free were a band that gigged constantly and really came alive when they hit the stage. Now, Mr. Big was a track that we first heard on the Fire and Water album, and it was repeated on the live album, Free Live, that followed it. And if the studio version was good, then the live version was certainly a world beater.
Paul Kossoff did start to get a bit frustrated because he was such an improvisational player. That certainly Paul and Andy Fraser like to control that a bit more in the studio, which is fair enough, because speaking as a producer, you need to have a certain amount of discipline in the playing, but one gets the impression that Paul Kossoff in particular just loved to take off and jam, and the 3 or 4 times that I saw them live, they were very improvisational live.
They just did build up this incredible grassroots following. I think very male, despite the fact that they were very sort of good-looking guys and very sexual, and half the songs were about screwing. It was a very kind of male audience to begin with. It was only when they had the hit record that all the kind of girls came along.
Free was special because although they weren't the first band that the 4 members were in, they were the first band to really make a career of rock and roll. They were operating in a time when you could more or less do anything. You had carte blanche to experiment. You didn't have to stick to a formula. And I think because they